Back again with another YouTube video. It's your boy Uriah G. Today we're gonna react to 10 classic wrestlers who never held a championship in WWE. Let's get right into the video. Alright, we have an advertisement to start off. 15-second ad, unskippable. Can we skip the second ad? Can't even skip the second ad either.
As a wrestling fan, there's nothing like the sheer thrill of seeing a title change hands. For generations, WWE fans have been able to remember where they were in life when certain individuals captured significant championships. Just about anybody who was anybody in WWE lore has won a championship, but not everybody. In fact, before rapid title changes became all the rage in the Attitude Era, there was a very good chance your favorite wrestlers may have never
Koko Beware. Yeah, we know Koko Beware. He's never won. He's mostly like a mid-card wrestler, mid-card.
Won a championship in the then WWF. Some of the biggest stars in the history of the business never wore any belts during their time in the biggest promotion around. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 classic WWE stars that never won WWE championships. Join us! Number 10, Bam Bam Bigelow. The Beast from the East was truly a wrestler ahead of his time. Weighing in excess of 350 pounds and possessing the agility of a junior heavyweight, Bigelow complemented his gallingly fleet feet with brute power and a menacing snarl. Wrestling's never been short on super heavyweight monsters, but Bigelow was among the very best. Across two WWE tenures in the 80s and 90s, Bigelow captivated audiences, but never struck gold. The first run lasted a little under a year in 1987 to 1998 and saw Bama cast as an ally of Hulk Hogan's. Though popular, Bigelow never really outgrew the sidekick rung on the ladder and moved on to
So he was mostly mid-card.
other territories before long. By 1992, the WWF needed more monsters of the non-synthetic variety, and so Bigelow returned as an upper-card heel. This was a 3-year run, and it too came and went without any championships. Bigelow's only pay-per-view match for a belt was a tag title tournament final loss at the 1995 Royal Rumble. And that was merely a pretense to set up his WrestleMania 11 showdown with Lawrence Taylor. Number 9, Paul Orndorff. In the summer of 1986, Mr. Wonderful executed what many consider one of the greatest heel turns in WWE history. After weeks of letting his personal envy simmer, Orndorff double-crossed good buddy Hulk Hogan in a weekend tag team bout and immediately joined the Heenan family. Orndorff became Bobby Heenan's latest charge in trying to unseat the Hulkster for the WWF title at their months-long program.
I saw him he was he's not part of the Four Horsemen, but he was around the time of AWA. That company, I think it was called AWA or something like that. Or NWA, or it was like a promotion.
Did insane house show business. Hogan vs. Orndorff was an extremely hot ticket throughout all of North America. But while Orndorff spent the better part of 6 months as the WWF star heel, he wasn't gonna be dethroning Hulk. In the days of yore, it was more commonplace to have long-term babyface champions, and while Orndorff's program with Hogan spiked the numbers were already strong with Hulk ruling the roost. Hogan wasn't gonna be losing the belt anytime soon, and as for Orndorff, a WWF regular between 1983 and 1988, he didn't really fit into the championship picture anywhere else, and never did capture any sort of belt in the expanding New York territory. Number 8, the Junkyard Dog. When Vince McMahon began plucking big names from all the remaining territories during his national expansion, Mid-South's JYD probably ranked high on his wish list.
He was a mid-card favorite, by many people. He just wasn't pushed. He just never won the world champ.
Junkyard Dog was in the S tier of most charismatic wrestlers in the entire business and was a huge draw throughout Bill Watts' territory. Kids loved him, grown-ups loved him, people of all walks couldn't get enough of the dog. That kind of wide-ranging popularity opens doors in whatever your vocation might be. Junkyard remained immensely popular upon joining the WWF, but the golden accolades didn't come with his fame. Like many wrestlers of his time, Dog was a little hamstrung by circumstances. There were 2 men's singles belts and 1 tag. Hogan wasn't gonna lose the world, while the Intercontinental was predominantly held by heels like Hammer, Savage, and Honky during Dog's tenure, as a counter to the babyface on top. Additionally, the plethora of steady duos meant that the tag belts were just off the table. Dog did win the 1985 Wrestling Classic and figured into high-profile feuds befitting his popularity, but golden adornments nonetheless eluded the Junkyard Dog in the WWF.
We have an ad. Is this one skippable? Nope. This is a skippable ad.
Tatanka. While it's fair to say that Tatanka was never truly a main event player in the WWF, he was still
Yeah, for the most part, he was a mid-card. They didn't really do much with Tatanka.
somebody the company heavily protected for the better part of 2 years. From his debut in early 1992 through to the autumn of 1993, Tatanka was never pinned or submitted in the WWF, and his unblemished record was as much a part of his identity as legitimate Lumbee heritage. So protected was Tatanka that he earned pinfall wins over Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels in non-title situations. Even when the belt was on the line, Michaels retained via intentional DQ or count-out losses, preserving Tatanka's record. Though the WWF hammered home Tatanka's imperviousness to being defeated, that was nonetheless as close as Tatanka came to actually winning a championship. Subsequently, any real momentum he had was stunted after suffering his first loss that autumn to Ludwig Borger. Tatanka was strictly mid-card from that point on, his only real notable feud coming against Lex Luger in 1994 after Tatanka turned heel at that year's SummerSlam. Number 6.
I didn't know Tatanka was a heel. But I don't really know too much about Tatanka, but I know he like ran down the ramp. He had like a tribal gimmick. And he wasn't pushed.
Dusty Rhodes. Though it's true that the American Dream was 43 years old when he joined
Alright, let's see. This wrestler, Dusty Rhodes. Yeah. He should have been world champ.
the WWF in 1989, earlier visits in the 1970s aside, he was still Dusty Rhodes, one of the most recognizable and popular stars in the history of North American wrestling. What Rhodes did well in his prime, he was still mostly capable of at this stage in his career. And the crowd responses? Fans in the Northeast went as wild for Dusty as those in Atlanta, Florida, and the Carolinas did. Still, it was obvious from day one that Dusty wasn't going to be winning the WWF title, or even serving as a transitional IC champ. The polka dots and the messy blue collar vignettes were designed to cast the Dream as more novelty than headliner. Rhodes was never treated as an outright goof in the WWF, but there was a very clear ceiling placed over his bleach blonde mane. The WWF was happy to present Dusty to an audience more than receptive to him, but scuffling in a few high-profile feuds was about as far as he'd ever get. Number 5. Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Today, Snuka's notorious for reasons that have become more widely known, so this entry is not a torch song lamenting missed opportunities. Instead, this is an honest acknowledgement of Snuka's one-time popularity and the WWF's choice not to reward him with a championship, even before May 1983. Snuka worked with title holders like world champion Bob Backlund and IC titleist Don Morocco, but never unseated either man. Honestly, Snuka fell into the realm of guys like JYD, and for a while Andre the Giant, and even Undertaker during most of the 90s, where they were so over that they didn't necessarily need a belt. You could book a world title match and whatever Snuka's grudge match was on the same card, and then have two highly anticipated matches that would sell loads of tickets. In those days, you could have justified putting a belt on Snuka, though it would have been harder to do so upon his WWF return.
The only Jimmy Snuka match I know is Jimmy Snuka versus Rick Rude. And Jimmy Snuka didn't even win that match. Rick Rude won that. WrestleMania 6. Was it the 80s? That was the Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior match.
In the late 80s, when he was a shell of his old self, and all he had left was his not yet tarnished name. Number 4, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Technically, Duggan didn't leave the WWF empty-handed. He held the unofficial crown
The first Royal Rumble winner.
in 1989, an honorific that was passed from Harley Race to Haku to Duggan to Randy Savage over a period of several years. Akin to the $1 million title, the crown was a superficial token meant to enhance a character instead of being a routinely defended championship. Duggan may have been king in the WWF, but he was never champ. That's in spite of the fact that Duggan was pretty damn over for much of his 6+ years as a featured babyface star. Duggan feuded with the likes of Andre, Savage, Yokozuna, Race, and Sergeant Slaughter, just to name a few, but was rarely ever part of the championship picture. The most high-profile title matches old Hacksaw took part in didn't come until 1993, mere months before he left the organization, facing Shawn Michaels in a pair of TV bouts for the IC title. Like others on this list, Duggan was more of an upper-card gatekeeper boosted by perpetual fan support and didn't really need a belt.
Why another ad?
Number 3, Vader. Now this one's pretty indefensible. In early 1996, the WWF signed the monstrous Leon White at a time when they were seriously lacking credible heels to oppose the Shawns and Bretts and Takers of the world. Vader brought with him an extensive championship pedigree, having worked at the top of every promotion he entered, including WCW. Putting Vader in the main event picture and crowning him champion seemed like an absolute no-brainer. Of course, it wasn't quite that simple. Vader was meant to have had a brief run with the belt beginning in late 1996, but then he ran afoul of then-champion Michaels, offending him with, among other things, his stiffer working style. A change in booking led to Sid, not Vader, getting a cup of coffee with the old Winged Eagle instead. For the 2 years that followed, Vader slowly sank down the depth chart, never capturing a single WWF belt. And he was jobbed out to mid-carders like Bradshaw, Edge, and Mark Henry over his final months. Vader then left for All Japan, which had the
JBL.
Mark Henry over his final months. Vader then left for All Japan, which had the good sense to fit the
Vader won a lot of titles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4.
big man with
It just wasn't the world title.
the gold before long. Number 2, Lex Luger. Luger's case is such a bizarre story that we once devoted an entire video to the subject. The WWF tried to fill the Hogan-sized void in 1993 by repainting heel Lex as an America-loving patriot, and created an entire campaign designed to
That was 10 classic wrestlers who never held a championship in WWE. Tell me what you guys want to see next in the comments down below. I got more videos coming. Stay tuned. Uriah out.